Hey guys, and welcome to the 14th video in this tutorial series, and in this one we're going to be creating a power-up timer system. Basically, this system includes both recognition of currently active power-ups and it displays them by showing a radial timer. Okay guys, so in the editor we're going to go to our power-ups folder and we're going to create a new script. And this one's going to be called effect info. It's going to store all the information for each effect about how long it's going to last. So now in our UI folder we're going to create another new script. And this one's going to be called Powerup Drawer. And obviously in there we're going to be doing UI drawing, and so it's going to be drawing little power-up icons that show us how long each power-up is going to last for in the bottom right corner. So now we're going to go to our prefabs in here and go to UI. And we're going to create a new prefab, and it's going to be called Powerup Icon. And this is going to be what's displayed in the bottom right. So now we're going to go into our canvas and we're going to create the power-up icon properly. So I'll create a new image and we can just remove this component. I'll create another new image by right-clicking on that image to make it a child. And then we'll do that one more time for the other one. And then again on that same one, so it has two children. And we'll call this one power-up. And the power-ups width and height are going to be 31. And our other image up here is going to be called background. This is going to be like a little black background to change the effect a little bit. And the size for this one is going to be 36 on both width and height, 36. And then we can just go ahead and pick knob right now. So knob, and we're going to change its color to black. And then for our power-up, we're going to leave that empty. Well, actually, we can go ahead and just pick one of our power-ups. And now for this image up here, this one is going to be called the radial timer. And its source image is going to be a white circle with a black border. I'm going to have a tutorial on how to create all these images in Photoshop as the next video. But for now, just use whatever you have. So the color of this is going to stay the same, and then oh yeah, we need to change this to a filled and radial 360, and I chose to do the fill origin from the bottom, and you can sort of see the effect once we give this its proper size, which should be 37 and 37. And so as we slide this fill amount, we can see it looks like a little timer effect. So now we're going to go up to this image and we're going to rename this one a power-up icon, and that's just going to stay how it is, but the size is going to be the same as the first child, just to be consistent. We're going to go ahead and drag this onto our power-up icon, and that's all we're going to have to do here. And so now we're going to go and change our new scripts that we created, and I'll delete this prefab before we do that. Oops, we'll delete this prefab, save our scene, and now we're going to move into Visual Studio. Okay, so in Visual Studio we're going to change our effect info class here, and it's not going to be a model behavior at all. So we're going to add a game object icon, a float for the default duration, which is the duration off start, and then there's going to be a max duration, which is how long a power-up or this effect is going to last, and we're going to have a float for the time left on the effect. Now we're going to have a constructor public effect info. And here we're going to have game object icon and effect. And so now we're going to use all the data from the effect to determine what we want our times to be. So after setting the icon here, we'll do default duration equals effect dot duration. Well, actually, we have it set as length here. And we'll do that 3 times just because we want to set all of these off start, and then they change once they're edited. So if we have two power-up multipliers of the same type, then the duration will be added to the max duration, and the time left will just be ticking away and going down. The default duration will stay the same as a reference for how long it usually is if we want to make another instance of the power-up after that one runs out. So now moving on, we're going to go to our Powerup Drawer, and we're going to set all of our values and also do our functions. So here we're going to go in and write private static string Powerup icon prefab path equals prefabs /UI /Powerup icon, or wherever you put the prefab for the Powerup icon we just created. And then private static game object Powerup icon panel, and then static dictionary. Oops, we need to write a using here. We're using collections.generic. We're also going to be using Unity engine.ui. Okay, now we're going to create our static dictionary of types effect and effect info. We'll call this one effects, and of course it equals a new dictionary of the same type, just to instantiate it. And then private static list effect keys equals new list effect. Okay, and off start we're just gonna find our Powerup icon panel, and to find it, it's a little ugly, especially since we're still using GameObject.find here, but that'll be fixed later. But for now, we're just going to be using GameObject.find to find the Powerup panel, and later on we'll instantiate it from here. So now we're going to get rid of this update function, and we're going to write public static void add icon Powerup, and then we're going to write another function called remove icon, public static void remove icon. It will be based on an effect E. And then, oh, we actually do need our update function. I forgot about that. We'll put that up here. And in there, we're going to have obviously our update timers function, which you're going to write right here. The private static void update timers, which is going to be consistently showing us how long we have left on our power up. Okay, so now all of this is fixed, and we need to go in and write these in just a second. So we're going to start with our add icon function, and in here we're going to write effect E equals powerup dot effect, and we're going to write if fx dot contains key, oh not, then we want to say effect, or sorry, game object icon equals object pooler dot get pooled object, power up icon prefab path, and we're going to make 3 of them at once just in case we end up having to have 3 of the same type. So then we're going to write, oh, and I forgot actually to, we went and changed this, so we'll leave this like this for now. But the object puller is a little different, so we'll need to go in and rewrite that later. Now we're going to write game object powerup sprite equals icon dot transform dot get child 0 dot get child 1 dot game object. And we're going to write powerup sprite dot get component image dot sprite equals powerup dot get component sprite renderer dot sprite. Okay, Now effect info equals, and we have an error here. Oh, no we don't. Equals new effect info icon e and effects dot add e and info and icon transform dot set parent Powerup icon panel dot transform, so that it will show up in the bottom right where we align them. And icon dot set active true. Okay, and now otherwise effects e dot max duration plus equals e dot duration length actually. And we want to do the same for time left. So that if we already have the effect active, then we're not going to add a second one of it, but we're just going to add on to the length of it. Okay, so now we're going to, at the end, write keys equals new list effect, and then we're going to use effects.keys to create that. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to be editing the dictionary while we iterate over the keys, and you can't iterate over a dictionary and edit it at the same time. So we're going to have to iterate through the keys and edit the dictionary instead. So here we're going to write effects e.icon.setActive false and effects.remove e. Now in our update timers function, we're going to have something a little complex. So we're going to start with a boolean changed to see if we change the dictionary. We're going to write if effects.count is greater than 0, and that's when we actually want to be updating our timers, because if there are no effects, then obviously we don't need to do anything. So in here for each effect in the keys, effect info equals effects at the index effects. And then if effect info that time left is greater than 0, then effect info dot time left minus equals time dot delta time. Else, oops, this should just be effect. Else, we want to write change is true, and then we're going to remove the icon from the dictionary. Okay, and now we're going to check if effects dot contains key of the effect. Then we want to write effect info dot icon dot transform dot get child 0 dot get component image dot fill amount equals effect info dot time left divided by effect dot max duration, and that's basically the math to make a percentage of the current time left, what's it called, and the max duration, just so that we see how much time is left as a radial timer. So now down here we're going to write if changed. So if the dictionary changed, then we have to refresh the keys. So keys equals new list effect of effects.keys. Okay. That should be everything we have to do for this script. So now we're going to have to move on to our Powerup controller. And in here, we're going to have to update just a couple things, but first we'll write in our new functions. So For one, we're going to need an update function. And then we're also going to need a effect active function. So public static bool effect active to check if we have an active effect. And then in here we're going to have actually this private static void handle effects, and a public static void add effect, effect E, and those are all the new things we get to write. So now in our handle effects function, we're going to follow the same sort of trend. We're going to write bool changed equals false if active effects. Oops, we didn't put our active effects in here. So we need a dictionary and a new list here. So down here we need a public static dictionary effect and float active effects equals new dictionary effective float. Okay, now we need a private static list of effects. We'll call it keys equals new list effect. And what this Powerup controller is going to do now is it's going to be updating our effects and their timers so that we actually know how much time is left on each effect. So if active effects in here dot count is greater than 0, then for each effect keys, if active effects of effect is greater than 0, and active effects effect minus equals time, not delta time, else changed equals true, active effects dot remove effect and effect dot end action. So this is all going to happen instead of our coroutines that we had previously. So now in the rest of the function we're going to have a if changed check, and we're going to do the same where keys is going to equal a new list of effect active effects dot keys. Okay, and now we're going to have our add effects function. So in here we write if not active effects dot contains key E, and active effects dot add E and E dot length. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to write active effects E plus equals E dot length. And then at the end, we'll write keys equals new list effect active effects dot keys. Okay. And in our effects active function, which is up here, we're just going to return if active effects contains the key E. Okay, so now in our update function, we're just going to call handle effects constantly, and that's good for now. So we'll come back and change this after we fixed our object pooler. So for now, we'll go to our Powerup script and in here I'm going to create an if check. So if not Powerup controller dot active effects, or actually I should just check dot effect active effect. Then I'm gonna write effect dot action. We'll remove this one here. So basically, if we've if the effect isn't in there, then we're just gonna activate it. So now in here, I'm gonna write Powerup controller dot add effect, and this one should automatically detect if it has the effect or not, because in here we check when we add an effect, we just add on to its length if it already contains the key. So another way we could do is we could just check if not effect active. So anyway, we'll go back to our Powerups, and in here we're gonna write we can remove this coroutine totally, because we're replacing that with a timer system. So Powerup Drawer dot add icon, this. So now we're gonna remove our remove function, and in our disable we're just gonna write game object dot set active false. So now all of these functions are set up just right, and we're gonna have to go to our object pooler now, and in here we're gonna change our ability to pool, like choose how many objects we want to pool, because we just made it use the default pool size, which is definitely way too big for just the icons. So we're gonna change that right now, and we're gonna have a little overload function. So we'll copy this function over, and right here what we're doing is overloading, so that we're gonna make a second parameter here, so we can use the same function but add in or remove parameters, so that it can have a little different feature. So with our int pool size, we are, let me check where I put this. We're going to create, not create object pool, we're going to be doing a get pooled object. So in here, oh yeah, I remember, instead of default pool size, we should just be replacing that with pool size. So put that there, the default pool size. So if we just search for that, and looks like that's all of where it was. So we're just gonna create an object pool with that pool size. Okay, so now that our object pooler is done, we're gonna go back to our Powerup controller, and in our spawn Powerup function, instead of creating a new Powerup, instead we're gonna have this line where we write game object Powerup as a pooled object, and then we'll write Powerup.transform.position equals position, and we don't need this line. And then that should be it, except we need to set the Powerup active. So now instead of doing this where we don't have a proper pool, we'll have a good pool size of just 2 objects. And I believe in the Powerup Drawer is the other place where we did this, and we wanted to say just do 3 times. And that should be just about it. Well, actually, we'll change this to a 2. We might not need to pull more than 1 object, but we'll see. Oh, actually we will, because we want to do 3, because in case we pick up 3 different types of Powerups. Okay, so we'll leave that as 3, and now we should be good to just go into the editor and test how all this works. Okay, so here we are in the editor, and 2 things we need to do to wrap this up is we need to add our Powerup Drawer to here, and we also are going to need to add in a little panel down here to align all of our icons. So we're going to create a new panel, and we're going to remove this, and we're going to add a different anchor. So it'll be anchored at the bottom, and it'll stretch from left to right. So, and our position Y is going to be 21, our height is going to be 42, and we're going to need to add a grid layout group component, and the cell size is going to be 42 and 42, And then for our start corner, we'll have lower right, and our child alignment will also have lower right. And that should be good as soon as we rename this to the Powerup panel. Hit enter and save that. And now we should be good for testing. So if we grab this Powerup, and yeah, it adds properly right there. And that's another one that's adding. So now if we pick up a second one, that adds up to the time. And now after that Powerup will disappear, we should be able to grab another blue one. And the child alignment group takes care of the Powerup effect just perfectly for us, so it'll automatically add it in properly. Now one thing that would be good is we could actually leave the image in and give it a little dark background that will fade in if we have Powerup, and then if we don't, it'll fade back out, just to add like a visual effect to make it look like this is a panel and not just in the real world. But that's all that's going to happen in this video, guys, and thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to hit the like button if this helped or if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button for the rest of the series, and thanks for watching.